Hello YouTube, I'm Nye from the Finale Guitar Shop in Sheffield and you're watching my YouTube channel Folk Friend, your one-stop shop for Celtic backing guitar tutorials. In today's video I'm going to be showing you a few more chord scales. As I said in the first part of this video, which you can check out in the corner of the screen right now, these are probably the most useful exercise for enhancing your fluidity, providing you with some kind of ready-made little chord runs which sound really nice under folk tunes, and also just generally speeding up your chord changes using shapes which fit together easily in the four common keys that are used in folk music. So what we're going to be doing today is covering the chord scales of G major and D major. I'm going to be showing you two sets of chords which fit together very nicely, which are particularly easy to play together at speed so that you can run through the scale really quickly without tripping over your fingers at the high speeds at which Celtic music is often played. Let's start out with the chord scale for G major. This also works with other modes which are related to G major, so G ionian, A dorian, D mixolydian and E aeolian. And if you want to find out more about that and how the modes work, I really recommend getting hold of an amazing mode wheel from Finale Guitar. They're available in the corner. So for G major, what we're going to do, we're going to start out with this, what I call country G shape. I talk about this a lot because I really like this chord. It's like your standard G major shape but with an extra finger. You can check out the little diagram in the corner there for this. And what we're going to do to enhance the speed at which we can play these chords, we're going to try and keep one finger in common between all of them as a kind of anchor point. And that enables your muscle memory to move the rest of your fingers in relation to a fixed point, which makes your chord changes a lot quicker. So the second chord that we're going to use, it should be A minor. We're going to use a substitute for it, a sort of jazzier version, and that is this. This is either you could call it A7 sus4, or you could call it what I'm going to call it, which is A minor 11. The name doesn't really matter too much. Basically, it's a jazzier version of an A minor chord. And so what you do, you put your middle finger on the second fret of the D string, and then you keep your third finger where it was, and that gives you this really nice jazzy A minor. For the next chord, you could play B minor. B minor sounds very much like a bit of a roadblock in the key of G major, so I'm not going to use B minor. Instead, I'm going to keep this finger where it is, and I'm going to just move that index finger, first finger, to the second fret of the A string, and then I'm going to miss off the bottom string, and that's going to give me this, which is an inversion of a G chord. It's called G/B. That's my third chord. If you want it to sound a bit more B minor-y and to give your accompaniment a kind of more minor-y flavour, you can add that finger there, which converts it into a B minor 7, so that makes the chord sound a bit darker. Next chord we're going to use is what I call country C. So it's exactly the same shape as the first chord we played, country G, except that these two fingers that are down the bottom both move up one string. And that gives us this really nice quote-unquote country C chord. The next one is your standard D major chord. Of course, that's already got your pivot finger in the right place, so we're just going to play D like that. Make sure with your D chord that you miss off the bottom two strings, otherwise it'll sound like mud. Next one is going to be the same shape actually as the third chord that we played, except that now you include the bottom string, and that makes this into an E minor 7 chord, which is a lovely jazzy sounding alternative to the E minor, and it keeps your pivot finger like that. The final chord in the key of G major would be F sharp diminished, but F sharp diminished sounds horrible. So if you don't want to make your backing sound like it's a story about vampires, then don't use that. Instead, play a D major chord and just hook your thumb around the back so that it pushes down on the second fret of the bottom string. So now that you've learned all those chord shapes, what I suggest you do is pick any of the kind of standard strumming patterns that you're working on. I'm going to use a real pattern to demonstrate this, and if you want to find a video in which I teach you how to play that pattern, you can click in the corner of the screen right now and you'll find it up there. And what you're going to do is practice playing through all 7 of the chords in this chord scale in order, going up and then coming back down again. So it'll sound something like this. G, A minor 13, G slash B, C, D, E minor 7, D slash F sharp and back to G, G, D slash F sharp, E minor 7, D, C, G slash B, A minor 13, G. That is a really great thing to practice. I can't emphasize enough how useful this is, because if you're playing along with a tune in G major, you'll start out just using the simplest chords, probably just G, C and D, maybe throwing in the odd E minor, maybe the odd A minor. But after a little while you'll get bored of that and you'll want to make these little links to join your chords together. So if you had a C followed by an A minor, you can join it together using the chord scale like this. And if you have A minor followed by D next, which is very common chord progression, you might go like that. So you can use these as these really nice little links, and they're dead handy. And also, practicing these together in the order I've just said will work with all of the modes I mentioned before. So A dorian, D mixolydian, E aeolian, all use the same chords. The other thing I want to show you in this video is the chord scale for D major, and the reason I've put these two together is because it's almost exactly the same. So here it is in order. We're going to start out on D major, making sure you miss off the bottom 2 strings. Then you're going to go up to E minor 7, same one we used before. We're still using this same pivot finger that we had in the previous example. The next chord is D slash F sharp, which is D with a thumb. Then you're up to country G. Now our chord 5, if we're in D major, chords 1, 4 and 5 are always major if you're playing along with a tune in a major key. So our chord 5 for D major is A major. However, we're going to play this same chord because this chord will work as A minor or A major because it doesn't actually have its third in it, so you can't tell whether it's minor or major, and that means you can use it in place of either. So we're going to keep that chord for our chord 5. Chord 6 is B minor, so we're going to use B minor 7, which I showed you before. It looks like that. Make sure you miss off the bottom string, otherwise it sounds horrible. And the very last one is a little bit tricky to play. There's a few variants of it. I think the simplest one is probably to switch so that you've got your index finger on the 2nd fret of the G string and your second finger, your middle finger, on the 3rd fret of the B string. And then you're going to have to do a bit of a stretch and try and get your ring finger or your little finger over there to the 4th fret of the A string. What this chord is not really important. It's basically an inversion of a D major 7, but what it functionally is a way of avoiding playing C sharp diminished, because as I've said in loads of videos, diminished chords sound horrible and folk music avoids them. So this is going to take the place of C sharp. And then you're back to D again, where you started. So I'll give you a little demo. This time I'm going to play it using a jig rhythm. If you want to learn a jig rhythm, you can find a tutorial in the corner of the screen. I'm actually going to be demonstrating this using my upside down jig rhythm, so that's the one I've linked in the corner. There is a simpler jig rhythm as well, which is on my channel. Go and check that out if you want to learn how to play that. So here's the chords in order. D, E minor 7, D slash F sharp, G, A, B minor 7, this tricky one for C sharp, and D, D, C sharp, B minor 7, A something, G, D slash F sharp, B minor 7, D. Something like that. So there we go, that's 2 really useful chord scales to learn. In next week's video, which will be the final part of this little series of chord scales, I'm going to show you one for A major. A major is slightly less well suited to standard tuning guitar, but I have a really nice jazzy version you can do, which is going to open up a whole new world of nice slidable shapes to you. So we're going to cover that in a separate video next week. That'll be out next Saturday at 12:30. I'll also be doing Folky Fridays on Friday at 5:30. Tune in for that. It's a free live stream Celtic guitar lesson, and you can find a link to it in advance on Friday morning, usually on the Folk Friend Facebook page, which is in the box down below. So thank you very much for watching. Check out my other videos. Hit the subscribe button to get a free tutorial every week. Do me a little favour, hit the thumbs up down there as well. That really helps the channel out. And if you'd like to find out more about Celtic guitar backing, check out my books and check out the amazing mode wheel, which really does make music theory a lot easier to understand. Those are all available in the card in the corner of the screen or on the link at the end of this video. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next week.